You think nobody knows what you've done, but I do. And if you don't press that subscribe button, I'm going to tell the police. Consider this your last warning. Cowboys versus Commanders. Have no fear, the Cowboys were here to spread Christmas Day cheer. They would eventually go up by 11 points early on before Dak Prescott had one of the best throws of his career, but in typical Dak Prescott fashion, it was wasted in a game where the Cowboys were already eliminated from the playoffs. Josh Johnson, who was drafted in 2008, finally secured his 10th career start in this one, in a game that was surprisingly competitive, especially after the Commanders broke off this incredible 70-yard run by Bill to make it a 7-point game. And the Commanders had a chance in the fourth quarter after Brandon Aubrey missed another field goal, but on 3rd and 1, they lost yards, and then Dan Quinn was making his tanking too obvious, decided to punt the ball, which then set up the Cowboys in position to make another field goal, which they didn't miss this time, which made it a 7-point game. And then on 4th and 1, with 10 seconds left, they sealed the win. A typical empty Cowboys win, always showing up when it doesn't matter. The video continues right after this. Before I begin, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. It's hard to believe that we are already nearly through the NFL season, but it's true. And it's been a great ride thus far, but it's not over with. And DraftKings Sportsbook is here to make your experience even better for the rest of the season. New customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And you know I got your back. You can sign up using my promo code BARRY to have an even better time. You can stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered there too. You can bet live on in-progress games right as they're happening. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. So what are you waiting for? New customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Just sign up using my promo code BARRY, and remember, DraftKings, the crown is yours. Vikings versus Lions. This was a complete clusterfuck of a game, but in a good way, kind of, because despite the Vikings getting only 3 net yards out of their quarterback, they somehow found a way to win. And why was that? Because the Lions and Jared Goff and his tiny little hands turned the ball over 6 times. But don't worry, Isaac Tesla still managed to get his one highlight in. This guy has 15 catches on the season, and yet his highlight reel is somehow going to be like 10 minutes long. It's insane. Out of the 6 Detroit turnovers, Jared Goff was responsible for 5 of them, 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles. If the Vikings were starting quite literally any other quarterback besides Max Brosmer, who is going down as one of the worst quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL, even worse than maybe Ian Book, this game would have been a blowout. But because they were starting Brosmer, it took until 4 minutes left in the game for the Vikings to really put this one away, when Jordan Addison broke off a 65-yard touchdown run to put them up 10. But oh no, the Lions were not done turning the ball over yet, folks. Another bad snap, and Jared Goff had it taken away. The Lions are eliminated from the postseason. Flashback to just 2 years ago, they had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game, and they blew it. They had a 15-win season and the 1 seed last year, and they blew it. Now they're going to be home for the playoffs. Dan Campbell wasn't lying when he said that that might have been their only shot. Broncos Chiefs. Here we get to see Bo Nix in all of his glory. This is just Mark Sanchez 2.0. Just a guy who does nothing, play like shit most of the time, and get carried by his defense. Oh, look, the Chiefs actually scored a touchdown. That's right. This touchdown pass is the first touchdown the Chiefs have scored in their last 4 games without Patrick Mahomes. And despite how terrible the Chiefs are and the fact that they're probably tanking and resting all of their starters and all of their roster has died, it wasn't until the end of the 3rd quarter that this supposedly elite Broncos team took the lead. The Chiefs did manage to tie the game with 8 minutes left, and then they did their usual giving up a 3rd and long play in a crucial situation, and then Chris Jones got flagged for encroachment on 4th and 2, which allowed the Broncos to have a new set of downs, which resulted in a go-ahead touchdown pass by Bo Nix. And oh yeah, this might be Travis Kelce's last home game before he retires to become Taylor Swift's full-time slave. And the game ended exactly how you'd expect, with the Chiefs not scoring and losing, and the Broncos going to 13-3. Again, this is going back some time, but in the Chiefs' last 4 games without Patrick Mahomes starting, their offense has averaged 7 points a game and 1 touchdown. So for all of the Mahomes detractors, Brady fans, who say that Andy Reid can just simply plug and play anybody into his system, I don't know about that. Texans versus Chargers. CJ Stroud had not 1, but 2 long-ass touchdown passes in the first 5 minutes of this one, and it looked like the Texans were going to blow out the Chargers with ease, but then Stroud threw a couple terrible interceptions, while Herbert continued to make some highlight throws, which ultimately ended up not really doing anything. Cameron Dicker missing a 32-yard field goal was unexpected, but the Chargers were able to cut it to 7 late in the third on a touchdown pass, and Herbert would have his chance in the fourth quarter to potentially tie the game, but he threw a check down on 3rd and 9, which then eventually led to Houston kicking a field goal to go up by 10, but the Chargers and Herbert mounted a touchdown drive to cut it to 4 after, of course, a missed extra point, and the game ended somewhat anticlimactically after the referees bailed out Houston with a shitty call on 3rd and long. Houston eventually then ran out the clock as both teams improved to 11 and 5. It's pretty obvious at this point, if Houston is going to do anything in the postseason, it's going to be in spite of their offense and not because of it. And honestly, same thing for the Chargers too. Ravens versus Packers. You got to give credit to the script writers on this one. A game between Tyler Huntley and Malik Willis should never be this entertaining, but it was. But the leading actor was Derrick Henry, who ended up getting 36 carries and scoring 4 touchdowns. But Malik Willis was legitimately great once again, and I must admit that he looked like one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen when he was in Tennessee, but anytime he's gotten a chance in Green Bay, he has really performed. The Ravens went up by 7, while the Packers entered a little bit of a lull, including this hilarious play where the snap literally hits Malik Willis in the face, and it's a fumble, but also everyone's going to talk about the snap hitting Malik Willis in the face, and rightfully so. But how the fuck do you not fall on that shit, dude? You fucking did an Olay on that. You got to recover that shit, man. Here you go, Malik Willis like, oh, I'm going to fake the handoff. I'm very sneaky, sir, as he runs for a long touchdown. But the Packers defense simply had no answer for the Ravens offense all game long. The only reason the game was close for Green Bay was because Malik Willis was throwing incredible passes all over the place and running for several long touchdowns to make it a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter. But then Tyler Huntley, ever since he got his new veneers, did a great job keeping Green Bay at arm's length. Malik Willis literally left the game for like 2 plays because he hurt his shoulder, which led to Clayton Tune coming in, and then this isn't really Clayton Tune's fault, but it's still an interception. You can just think this guy's like, man, this is my shot. I'm on national television. Ah, fuck, I threw an interception. And of course, the Ravens then turned that into another touchdown to win this game by 17 points, setting up a divisional championship game versus the Steelers in Week 18. We wouldn't have it any other way. Is Jordan Love a system quarterback? Browns versus Steelers. If you came here looking for some Shador highlights, this is about as good as it's going to get. A legitimately great throw early on, and then a complete wounded duck, quack, that somehow ended up for a touchdown to give the Browns an early 10-0 lead. Wow, you mean the Steelers under Mike Tomlin are going to completely blow a game they should win easily? I don't believe it. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, the Steelers missed a field goal that would have cut it to 1, but their best quarterback on this day, Shador Sanders, threw an interception, which gave Aaron Rodgers multiple opportunities to win the game, or at least tie the game. And although at the very end he did get the Steelers on the goal line with a chance to tie and or potentially win, he went to MVS really 3 times too many. But it's games like this and it's moments like that where just make you think, man, Aaron Rodgers can't really be the GOAT because he's just not clutch enough in these types of situations. For as talented as he is, and it's a fact, unless he's playing the Cowboys or the Bears, he just has been so inconsistent when trailing late in close games. But on the flip side, can he really stop the Steelers from reaching their destiny of going 9-8 once again? I don't know, but I will be watching next week. I can guarantee you that. The Bengals versus the Cardinals. This was so fucking predictable. Joe Burrow in a couple meaningless late season games with the Panthers long out of the postseason would come and ball out, which leads to once again the Bengals getting a shitload of excitement entering the next season. I guarantee you the Bengals are going to once again be around 500 next year when the games actually matter. It's just a vicious cycle that repeats every single year. But I will say this, at least for the Bengals, they do have a marquee quarterback if he doesn't retire. Whereas the Cardinals, what do they have? They have really nothing. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a defense. They're probably going to have a new head coach as well. A meaningless game between 2 teams that are essentially bottom feeders. No offense to Dwayne Wade. Patriots versus Jets. Wow, you're not going to believe this, but the New York Jets got their ass kicked. I know, it's unbelievable. And not only that, but they also continue once again to go another game without an interception. That's right. After this performance where they allowed Drake Maye to throw 5 touchdown passes, the Jets defense this season has given up 32 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. It's unfathomable. I'm sorry, but also Drake Maye, he's had a great year. I understand he's going to be in the MVP conversation, but I'm not moved by him beating up on tomato cans. The only highlight that the Jets had in this game was converting this fake punt down 32 early in the third, and then immediately canceling that out by going for another fake punt just several minutes later, which was immediately sniffed out for a loss, which then resulted in Drake May's 5th touchdown pass of the game, and the Patriots ended up winning 42-10. What if I told you that the side of the ball that hasn't recorded an interception all season long isn't the worst side of the ball for the New York Jets? Dolphins versus Bucks. Baker Mayfield started the game on the right foot, throwing a touchdown, but Quinn Ewers, his first NFL touchdown, was a 63-yard pass to tie the game up at 7, but then Baker made a stupid, silly, deep pass for an interception. Baker is just a type of guy that he's just not great when he has expectations. When he's the underdog, he's great, but when he starts getting praise, he isn't as good. And really, there's no excuse to lose to a crappy Dolphins team on the road like this, including committing several turnovers in the fourth quarter to end up dropping to 7-9 on the season. The only saving grace is that they play in the worst division imaginable, so somehow, some way, they are still in contention for getting a home playoff game. It's unfathomable. Seahawks versus Panthers. That's right, look at these quarterbacks in all of their glory early on. Turning it over, fumbling, then picking up the fumble, and then fumbling it again, and then turning into a complete clusterfuck, which is hilarious. This would be on an NFL Follies video if VHSs were still a thing. And you think the madness was going to stop in the second half? Sorry, pal. More interceptions, more fumbles. Finally, by the grace of God, the Seahawks broke the seal with a touchdown run. But Bryce Young, who's very similar to Baker, and that the moment he gets any sort of praise or expectations, he completely sucks, continued to play like shit all game. Outside of one play, he had one good play, and that was this touchdown run to make it a 7-point game. But then the Seahawks, Darnold, who has now won 13 games in back-to-back seasons. Every other quarterback that's ever done that is a first-bout Hall of Famer, so he's basically like the Christian Laettner on the Dream Team version of that stat. And then 4th and 17, you're throwing the ball 17 yards of the short of the sticks. Yeah, the Panthers said, you know what, fuck this, let's just prepare for next week. Focus on next week and a winner-take-all game for the division. But neither the Panthers or the Buccaneers deserve to make the playoffs, but that's the NFL playoff format for you, folks. Jaguars versus Colts. Trevor Lawrence has been on a heater lately, but guess what? When you try to do a hook and lateral and you fuck it up, it's going to end up on the highlight reel for all the wrong reasons. The Colts, who were eliminated from the postseason after melting down in the second half, thanks to injuries largely, went up by 10 early on, but then Trevor Lawrence, with his deceptively athletic touchdown run, made it a 3-point game at halftime before a little bit of ass came out by throwing this interception right before halftime. But Lawrence would get into a groove, throwing a couple more strikes, which led to another touchdown run. Fun fact, in this game, Trevor Lawrence had 2 rushing touchdowns, whereas his counterpart, Phillip Rivers, has just 3 career rushing touchdowns in 243 career starts. There's more than one way to bake a cake. And speaking of Phillip Rivers, look at this throw. Literally a drop in the bucket. The end zone doesn't care how weak your arm is, as long as you can get it there. The Jags turn the ball over on downs, and you know what that means. It's time for fourth quarter Phillip Rivers, which is time for another terrible interception, which set up a field goal. But Rivers would have another chance, but he didn't do anything. The Jags then were able to kick another field goal to make it a 6-point game, and then something weird happened. 11 seconds left. Rivers throws a pass, which should have ended the game, but Josh Hines-Allen got flagged for defensive delay of game, so it gave the Colts a free Hail Mary. They sub in Riley Leonard because of his arm strength, and it ends up resulting in an interception. But can you imagine if the Colts had ended up somehow winning this game? That clip, that penalty by Josh Hines-Allen would become infamous, but that's how it works. When you win, a lot of your sins get glossed over. Thanks for the memories, Phillip. Saints versus Titans. Simply put, this game had no business being as good as it was, and the highlight reel was very good. Cam Ward has really started to pick it up the last couple weeks of the season, which is what you want from a first overall pick, including this amazing yards after the catch touchdown pass to give the Titans an early 13-point lead. But for my money, the play of the game, which turned the game around, was when Cam literally got bitched by Chase Young, who stole the ball out of his hands like a little baby and ran it back for a touchdown. After that, Cam got a 50-yard defensive pass interference penalty, which set up yet another touchdown pass to put the Titans back up by double digits. But Tyler Shuck had one of the best games of his young career, as you would expect against a terrible team. God damn, look at this fucking pass. This is unbelievable arm strength, arm talent right there. But for a moment, it looked like the Saints would find a way to lose this game after Dante Pettis fumbled the ball on the goal line. And again, how the hell do you not recover this? You got 2 guys diving on it, which would have have resulted in a touchdown, but it ended up not being recovered by the Saints, and then Shuck ended up leading a go-ahead drive to put the Saints up by 1 with 6 minutes left. Cam Ward, what do you got for us? You got nothing. And the Saints expanded that lead to 8 with about 4 minutes left, and Cam Ward had another chance to potentially win the game, and he made a great effort on this play, but guess what? Your knee was on the ground, so it gets called back, turn the ball over on downs, and then the final play of the game is funny. Cam, he's just trying to make something happen. He fumbles the ball backwards, picks it back up, and throws it for an incompletion. Again, this game between two teams that had nothing to play for was insanely entertaining. Thanks, guys. Giants versus Raiders. The Tank Bowl didn't quite live up to the hype, but I do find it hilarious that the one time that Giants fans would absolutely love for their team to actually be dog shit, they go out of their way to be really, really good and play really well and win decisively versus maybe the only team in the league that's actually worse than they are. I mean, this was a blowout, as you all know by now. I mean, thank God. For as much shit as I give the Eagles, as a fan, I always think to myself, it could be worse. I could be a Giants fan. I mean, I could not imagine rooting for my team to lose actively. That just seems like a fucking hellscape. But congratulations to the Raiders on getting their ass kicked in this game. And Geno Smith, he understood the assignment, which was to throw multiple interceptions. Jackson Dart, he's not the smartest tool in the shed. He's got one too many concussions already. Winning a game by 24 that your fan base wanted you to lose, I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Thank you, Giants, for giving me some humor on this day. But speaking of my Eagles, let's look at the Eagles versus the Bills game. Look at this play. Josh Allen, this is hilarious. He fumbles the ball and it somehow goes off the foot of Jalen Phillips, which has honestly been maybe the signing of the year thus far, which set up the Eagles in good field position, and they looked like a legitimate offense, being aggressive, getting guys open. Wow, I'm sure this won't end up backfiring in any way as the game goes on. I added this clip because I can't believe Jake Elliott made this kick. Unbelievable. And oh my fucking God, he made another field goal. Gee, I'm just, somebody pat me down with a towel. I'm sweating like a dog. And then the entire second half was quite literally just the Eagles defense doing everything they can to hang on to the lead. And also Josh Allen giving a helping hand. I mean, Josh, what the fuck are you doing here? You're in field goal range and you take a 20-yard sack. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's just hilarious. But finally, with the Eagles offense literally doing nothing after having some overturned plays and some drops and also just predictable, terrible run pass play calling by Patullo, you knew eventually the Bills were going to go on a run. And that's what they did. Josh Allen did the tush push, ironically, to make it a 13-6 game, but then Jalen Carter blocked the extra point. God, he's such a great person, isn't he? This would end up becoming very important later on. This is one of the drops I was talking about with Devonta Smith on 3rd and long, right through his hands. People will keep saying Jalen Hurts sucks, though, but that's just whatever. I don't care. Then the final 2 minutes, this shit got really crazy. 4th and 10, the Bills do a hook and ladder, which worked to perfection. And then once again, on 4th and goal, they do a tush push with Josh Allen with 6 seconds left. Every fucking time they do a tush push, Josh Allen goes to the left. If you're an Eagles scout, if you're a scout at all, and you're going to play the Bills in the postseason, and they do a tush push, I guarantee you, they're going to go to the left, okay? If my dumbass can recognize this, then you should be able to recognize this. I don't know how anybody hasn't jumped on this yet. But anyway, the famous play of the game that everyone will remember is 2-point conversion, and Josh Allen just completely whiffed on it. I mean, wow, this is just a terrible miss for a wide open receiver in the back of the end zone, which would have won the Bills the game, but yet the Eagles ended up squeaking out a win, 13-12. Again, I'm not going to apologize for winning. It's better than losing, but I can't believe that going on the road and beating the Bills could feel so empty like this game did. San Francisco versus the Bears. Look, Kyle Shanahan's a genius, but I don't agree with this play call of calling a pick 6 on the opening play. I mean, that's just bad coaching right there. But that was also basically the only defense that was played all game long, as Purdy ended up counting for 5 total touchdowns for the second week in a row. And then here's a play, Christian McCaffrey. Look at how heroically he runs. My goodness. I mean, he makes me think so many unpure thoughts when I watch him play. So heroic. Can you imagine how many daughters he would make happy? Speaking of this, Brock Purdy, I've always been on the train that Brock Purdy is good. I've been on this train ever since he started playing, and I haven't seen any reason to think otherwise. All the guy does when he plays is produce at a really high level, even though he doesn't have a strong arm. But you know who does have a strong arm is this motherfucker, Caleb Williams. Look at this fucking throw. Good Lord, that's a beautiful pass. Tie the game at 14. Brock Purdy, again, not a strong arm, but he just dropped shit in there to Ricky Pearsall on a shot play, no offense. And then Christian McCaffrey with a heroic, deceptively athletic touchdown. And then look at this. I know it's not the most tight window throw, but this is fucking 45 yards on an absolute line like it's nothing. Just ridiculous arm talent by Caleb Williams. But But then here comes Brock Purdy doing his deceptive, oh, look at me, I'm going to hand it off. No, I'm not, motherfucker. I'm going to run in for another score. But the Bears would once again answer with another touchdown by DeAndre Swift, Eagles legend. And again, Purdy just dropping shit right in the middle of the zone, the soft spot of the zone. And then this play by Purdy is ridiculous. Juking guys out, throwing. He's good. The guy can play, man. I don't understand the whole system quarterback shit. He's got legit talent. And on this night, so did the Bears offense, with DeAndre Swift running for another touchdown run to make it 35-35. The Bears, after another ridiculous laser from Caleb Williams, would go up by a field goal with 5 minutes left, and then Purdy led the go-ahead drive with a touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings, which set up the climactic final drive where Caleb Williams converted a fourth down. And then I don't really agree with this play call. 2nd and 10, you got no timeouts. There's 20 seconds left. They do a hook and ladder to DeAndre Swift. By the way, I have never seen one of these hook and ladder plays not work in terms of getting the pass to the first player who then ends up lateraling it. Like, is it just like a secret agreement among defenses where it's like, hey, we got to let the guy catch it first? Either way, I would have liked to throw to the boundary here, because then they get forced to have to run up and clock it, and they have one more play left, and then Caleb Williams tried to make something happen. Even with the 49ers rushing 2, they somehow got pressure, and he ended up literally falling just a couple inches short, throwing this into the ground. A great way to end the game. A great game, entertaining. Literally, it's a game of inches. And sometimes, and it's literally 2 or 3 inches, you come up a little bit short, but sometimes, some women think that 3 inches is actually pretty average. They don't think it's very small. At least that's what I've been told. But either way, the 49ers, they're living up to their standard of either being a double-digit loss team or going to the NFC Championship game. So, yeah, congratulations to the 49ers on another deep playoff run. Falcons versus Rams. Kirk Cousins came out firing to this hardworking receiver and throwing a touchdown to Bijan Robinson, while the Falcons defense stood strong in the red zone, while Matthew Stafford also was in generous mood, throwing interceptions to them and basically taking a gigantic shit all over his own MVP case, fair or not. One of the key moments of the game was when Stafford threw this long interception, and then Bijan Robinson immediately ran 93 yards for a touchdown to put the Falcons up 21-0. Surely they would not blow a lead like this, right? Oh crap, here comes Stafford throwing a touchdown to make it a 14-point game, and then here are the Falcons getting a field goal blocked in return for a touchdown by Jared Verse to make it a 7-point game going into the fourth quarter. And oh my god, I'm so nervous. This is going down to the wire. I'm going to poop my pants. And here comes Stafford throwing another interception in the red zone. And this is funny. Stafford, great effort, chases down, but look at him dive for this like his life's on the line. Like, oh, I must get you. Oh, shit. But then it turns out, false alarm, he stepped out of bounds, and the Falcons ended up getting no points out of it. And then, of course, Stafford led the game-tying drive with 3 minutes left, and then the Falcons got in field goal range to set up this game-winning 51-yard field goal attempt. Stafford had a great effort, but this is incredible. The ball literally just kind of looks like it's just floating in the air with nobody even touching it. Unbelievable. But the Rams end up losing. Congratulations, Drake Maye, on winning the MVP. And although this was a bad loss for Stafford, it's still not as bad as losing to the Raiders like Maye did in week 1.